Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Shamaprabha Nirvignam Gurume Devo Sharvakayeshu Sharvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambam Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Mishada Suklam Bharadaram Vishnum Sashivarnam Chaturbhujam Prasanna Vadanam Dhyayet Sarva Vigno Pashantaye. Salutation to Sri Hanuman, the remover of obstacles. Sri Hanuman will be present wherever the names of Lord Rama is being chanted. Yatra yatra Raghunama Kirtanam, Tatra tatra Krishnamastakanjalim, Bashpavari Paripurna Lochanam, Marutihim Namatta Raksha Shantakam. Khujantam Rama Rameti, Maduram Maduraksharam, Aruya Kavita Shakam, Vande Valmiki Kokilam. Okay. Before we will look at session 17, which is second part of Kishkinda Kanda of 4 parts within our Ramayana class series, let's review what we have covered in session 16. Session 16 where we started Kishkinda Kandam. So session 16 we have covered chapters 1 to 18 until the completion of Vali Vadam and the justification that was given by Rama for killing of Vali. Okay, Vali Vadam, you have to remember, is one of the controversial subject within Ramayana. Whether you're looking into Valmiki Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas, Kamba Ramayana, Yelutachan's Ramayana, Rangadada Ramayana, then you have Kritivasa Ramayana. Any Ramayana, there will be many commentators will be commenting on the Vali Vadam. Okay, the killing of Vali. Many arguments presented for, against, but we have to look at from the Ramayana itself, Valmiki itself, especially chapter 18, the justification that has been given by Rama. After hearing the justification given by Rama, Vali himself have acknowledged and have admitted that he was wrong, and there was no case from Vali against Rama. So you have to remember that Rama argued from various perspectives, jurisdiction, jurisprudence perspective, and also given several justifications for reasons why he did not fight directly with Vali. So we learned in session 16, the previous session, Rama going towards Pampa Lake, lamenting for Sita. Rama looking for Sugriva. And on the way, he will be commenting about the flora, fauna, the trees, various trees, rivers, the animals. And then all that reminded him of Sita. So he was lamenting about Sita. So various commentators of Ramayana commented that Rama lamenting or in a state of grieving, state of grief or depression due to separation from Sita was just like how Paramatma feels grief, laments, Paramatma laments or even depressed due to the separation from Jivatma. So then Hanuman comes as a guru who will later unite the Paramatma with Jivatma. So you have to remember, even Paramatma also suffers the separation from Jivatma. Not only Jivatma separated from Paramatma. Okay, because Paramatma, the Lord, is a father of all the living beings. Krishna also confirms. I have mentioned this verse also previously. Krishna confirms in the Bhagavad Gita that he says, of all the living entity, he is the seed-giving father. Sarva yonishu kaunteya, he said, aham bija pradapita, aham bija, I am the seed-giving father, pradapita, for all the living beings. Okay, then of course Rama will meet Hanuman. Hanuman disguised himself as a mendicant. Why Hanuman had to go and meet Rama? Because Sugriva was afraid when he saw Rama and Lakshmana coming towards Rishamukha hill. Okay, so he sent Hanuman. Hanuman took the form of a mendicant, and then he introduced himself to Rama and Lakshmana. And then later on, we found that after the communication, the style how Hanuman communicated with Rama, the communication of Hanuman was highly, uh, what they call, Rama praised the way Hanuman communicated in terms of the choice of words, the language. You can refer to that particular sessions where I have narrated about how Hanuman communicated to Rama. Art of communication. There are seven, what they call 7 to 8 notes. If you can look into the previous session that I have gone through with you, how to communicate. So Rama mentions only one who have mastered the 3 Vedas, Rig, Yajur, and Sama, would be able to communicate like Hanuman. He was also known as the Navavyakarana Pandit. And he learned all this from his guru, that is Surya Bhagavan. And Surya Bhagavan, as a Guru Dakshina, requested him to serve his son Sugriva. So then Lakshmana will narrate to Rama, and then there will be an ode of friendship between Rama and Sugriva. Sugriva will narrate his story, how his wife, what he call Ruma, has been taken away by Wali. And then there will be, he will narrate further how Sugriva and Wali became enemy. And then he will narrate the strength of Wali, how he defeated various what he call asuras who came to challenge him, like Mayavi, he defeated Mayavi, and then he defeated Dundubi. Dundubi is another asura who came to challenge Wali. In fact, even Dundubi wanted to challenge everybody. Dundubi went to the ocean, Sagara, to challenge the ocean. Ocean said, I cannot challenge you, go to Himawan. Himawan later recommended, suggested Dundubi to go and challenge Wali, the king of Kishkinda. Then Dundubi will challenge Wali. Then Wali easily defeated Dundubi. Then after that, what they call, Sugriva was not really convinced whether Rama will be able to defeat Wali or not. So he gave 2 tests. One is throwing of, kicking off the skeleton of Dundubi. Rama did that very easily to hundreds of yojanas. And then the, what they call, he pierced the 7 salt trees. That after that, Sugriva was convinced that the Rama is the only person who will be able to defeat Wali. So the first challenge, Rama requested Sugriva to go and challenge Wali. First challenge, Rama could not able to recognize who is Wali and who is Sugriva. So Sugriva was wounded, came back, and then he was scolding Rama at that time. No, why did you ask me to go? Because you promised that you were going to destroy Wali. Then Rama said, I could not recognize you, my friend. You and your brother Wali looks the same. Okay, then the Gajapushpi flower will be put on his neck by Lakshmana, and then he goes for a second challenge, and in a second challenge, Rama will kill Wali. But of course, before what they call Wali moved out of Kishkinda to challenge Sugriva, Tara will be giving him advice. A lot of good advice given by Tara to Wali. But of course, there is a saying that Vinashakale Viparita Buddhi. At the time when one's destruction is coming close, the intelligence will be bewildered. That's what happened to Wali. So Wali moved. He did not heed the advice of Tara, and he went to fight with Sugriva. And of course, we know Rama killed Wali, and then Wali start questioning Rama. He has thrown a lot of accusation, a lot of questions towards Rama, which was valid question, not unvalid question. But you also have to look at what was the arguments presented by Rama. What was the justification given by Rama? Okay, these are the area that we have covered the last session. Last session, very important. The first service, if you are able to recall, that was performed by Hanuman to Rama was this. And this actually was why I have putting in to you again, second one, because Madhvacharya, one of the principal teacher of Vedanta, okay, one of the teacher who was popular, the philosophy of Dvaita philosophy. You have Advaita, Vishistadvaita, Dvaita. Okay, some of the principal teachers of Advaita, Sankaracharya, Madhvacharya, Vishishtadvaita, Sankaracharya, Ramanuja, Vishishtadvaita, and Madhvacharya known for Dvaita. So he says here, Madhvacharya in his commentary of Mahabharatam, Mahabharata Tatparya Nirnaya, in the chapter 6, Sloka 1, he says that Lord Rama got upon the soldier along with Lakshmana, smiling for the love of Hanuman. That's the first service. And again, another teacher from Madhvacharya school, that is Vadiraja Tirtha. If any one of you wants to search, you can search Vadiraja Tirtha's. He said that a smile indicates it's not new for Vayu to carry. Jiva and the indwelling Paramatma, when the Jiva passes from one body to another body, every transmigration from one body to another body, it is that Vayu, that's one who carries the Jiva from the body together with the Paramatma who indwell in the body to another body. Okay, very significant commentary that was given here by Vadiraja Tirtha. Okay, and another important part that we have covered in last session is a justification given by Rama. Chapter 18 is a very, there are 68 slokas inside chapter 18, 68. And you have to look at chapter verse 1 to 25. Rama extols the part of Dharma, which Ishwaku king follows and tell Vali that he has violated the Dharma. And then verses 26 to 45, Rama recounts several aspects of Dharma from Smriti that king must follow. So one of the important things Rama mentioned is that if the king do not punish an evildoer, that the sin of not punishing will go to the king. So it is a duty of the king to punish someone who have done any wrong, any adharma. Okay. And then the other one, if you are looking into from sloka 46 to 58, Vali seeks pardon for his act of adharma and requests Rama to take care of Angada. Vali realized his mistake. Vali has realized, and there's no case from Vali against Rama at all. If you are looking from Valmiki Ramayana, or also some other versions of Ramayana, yes. And some other versions of Ramayana will find that Vali will realize that Rama is none other than Narayana, Vishnu himself. And then he will sing praises for what they call not Narayana or the Vishnu, or in form of a Rama, who came in form of a Rama. But that is not recorded by Valmiki. Valmiki never mentioned, because you have to remember in Valmiki Ramayana, Rama is a human being. Ramam Dasarada Atmacham. Atmanam Manusham Manye Ramam Dasarada Atmacham. This is what he says in Valmiki Ramayana. If you look into, he considers himself as a human. Okay, of course, there are some verses where you find that sloka 1, sorry, not sloka 1, that is the book 1, surrender of the Devas to what they call Vishnu, and also at the end of what they call Yuddha Kandam, also you'll find there are some divinity of Rama will be exposed there. Divinity of Rama will also be exposed in the incident where Rama granted moksha to Jatayu. Okay. So there are also questions how somebody, a human being who's grieving for his wife, who's wandering in the forest looking for his wife, how can he give moksha? There was one of the questions later on that they will ask some questions how he can give moksha to Jatayu. But Rama acted as a human being, because only as a human being he will be able to destroy Ravana, because Ravana has immunity from humans and also Vanaras. Okay, and then verses 59 to 68, Rama assures Vali of his son's safety and asks him not to grieve. Okay, that we have completed the last session. Last session we have done all that on the Kishkinda Kanda. Now, in session 17, we are going to cover chapters 19 to 37. Now, what are the areas that we are going to cover in session 17? Session 17, we will find Tara. Tara, after hearing that the Vali has fallen in the battlefield, she'll be running towards Vali. Okay, Tara will be crying, will be lamenting. Hanuman will console Tara with the words of wisdom. And then Vali, at the time he's about to quit the body, he will be giving advice. He'll be giving advice to Sugriva, and he will also be giving advice to his son Angada. One of the important advice that he will be giving to Angada, I will be focusing on that part later on. And then Tara will lament for the death of Vali. And then Tara and Sugriva will even consider that they also want to die with Vali. Okay. Then in chapter what they call 25 Wali funerals was done, and then Sugriva Pattabhisheka. So we have chapter 26 is Pattabhisheka of Sugriva. Sugriva Pattabhisheka takes place here. And after that, Sugriva Pattabhisheka, Rama did not take part. He did not take part because Rama cannot enter any city. So only it is Sugriva. Sugriva, sorry, it is only Lakshmana who entered the Kishkinda and then coronated Sugriva. Okay, then Rama, before Sugriva's coronation, Rama will tell Sugriva, you need to take a rest, enjoy your kingdom for a time being because of the rainy season. Rainy season, nothing can be done during the monsoon season. So 4 months of rainy season, Sugriva should be focusing on administration of Kishkinda. But of course, he forgot about administration and he was focusing more time for his own enjoyment. So what happened was that later on, Rama will become angry. And Lakshmana will be sent to remind Sugriva. So at that time, Rama was staying in Mount Prasravana. Okay, the name of the mountain. So he will be narrating about, there will be a narration about rainy season. And then at that time, in chapter 29, Hanuman, who is very wise, he will advise Sugriva. Okay, there are good advice given by Sugriva about gratitude. What you have to know about gratitude. Later on in Sundarakanda also we will be learning about gratitude. And then a season, autumn season, Lakshmana will become angry when Rama will tell Lakshmana that Sugriva might have forgotten his duty. Please go and remind. So again, Hanuman will advise Sugriva, but he was drunk. He was in the mode of enjoyment. So he did not pay much attention to the advice of Hanuman. And then Lakshmana will come. Then Tara will go and pacify Lakshmana. Then there will be a surrender of Sugriva to Lakshmana. Tara, what they call appeases Lakshmana. Okay. Then Sugriva will instruct the monkey chief, that the Vanara chief, to go around the world. Okay, to go. They will all come to Sugriva. Okay, and then later on after that, you will go in, once we move into chapter 38 onwards, there will be instruction given to all the Vanara leaders about where to search for Sita. So in that particular part, especially the next session, we're going to look into the geography of the world during Treta Yuga. That will be described by what they call Sugriva. So anybody who wants to know about the geography of the world at that time, we can also look at that particular chapters in Kishkinda, which we'll be covering towards the session 18. Okay, now last session, Wali was shot by Rama, and Wali is down. He's not dead yet. He's down by the arrow of Rama. When the mighty Wali fell, the Vanaras fled. They are running away here and there. And when Tara, the wife of Wali, heard the shocking news, because for Tara, she can't believe that the Wali has fallen. For Tara, Wali was a great warrior. He has won against all the warriors. Even Ravana himself was defeated by Wali. So it was a shocking news to Tara. So she ran to where Wali was. She saw the fleeing Vanaras and questioned them, why are you running away? The Vanaras warned Tali, please queen, don't go near where the king body lies now. Wali is dead. Actually, he's not dead yet. As long as he was wearing the necklace given by Indra, he was still alive. But your son Angada is alive, as they said. Wali is dead, but your son Angada is alive. It's better to protect him from the missile of that Rama. Let us quickly return to guard Kishkinda. Any moment the victorious Sugriva and others might storm the territory. This is what they call the Vanaras told Tara. But the noble Tara, she was not afraid at all. She said, I shall go to where my husband lies. I have lost him. What shall I do with the kingdom or even Angada? Soon she saw Wali fallen on the ground, the same Wali whose strength rivaled that of Indra, because Wali is an Amsha of Indra. Okay, if you have to remember that in the chapter 17 of Balakandam, the first book, Balakandam, it is mentioned Indra's Amsha came as a Wali. By right, Wali should be assisting Rama. Instead of assisting Rama, he have moved into the adharmic way. So Rama have to, remove Wali. Okay, that is That there's one of the commentators say it is just like removing people who are not following the orders, not following instruction. What Wali did was something like insubordination. Okay, so it says that Wali's strength rivaled that of Indra. She saw Rama and Lakshmana and also Sugriva standing nearby. Sorry. Tara collapsed at the sight of Wali and lamented, Lord, why do you not speak to me today? Why have you abandoned me, O mighty hero? You have paid the penalty for living with Sugriva's wife. I do not find fault with you. Time alone is your killer. Your time have come, and therefore you, who could not be subdued by anyone, have been trapped by Sugriva. I have never known sorrow, lovingly protected as I was by you, but now I shall live as a miserable widow. Your son Angada will know what his fate will be now. Rama has fulfilled the promise he has given to Sugriva. Sugriva will surely be happy and will rejoice. Brushing aside my warning counsel, you rush to meet your own end, my lord. What shall we, your devoted wives, do? Wali had many wives, not only Tara. Tara was a principal queen, just like Dasaratha. Remember? All the wives of Wali prayed for the departed Wali. Lord, if we had done anything to incur your displeasure, kindly forgive us. They devotedly touched his feet and shed tears. Tara, who was thus lamenting the death of Wali, along with other wives of the hero, resolved to fast unto death at the very place where Wali was slain. This was what Tara wanted to do. Then we find Hanuman appearing there. Hanuman said to Tara, O noble lady, after leaving this world, every being gets the due reward for good and evil actions performed here. Their karmic action. Okay. Who should grieve for whom? The dead or the living? When the physical life is like a bubble here. Very philosophical. Hanuman is narrating. Okay. Everyone gets rewards for the good and evil action performs here. People perform here. That's why Vyasya, the one who have compiled the Vedas. Vedas was not written by Vyasya. It was there before Vyasya, but Vyasya means somebody who compiled the Vedas, who divided the Vedas into Rig, Veda, Yajurveda, Sama Veda, and Atharvana Veda. In his after he has written 18 Puranas, what Vyasa says is that the essence of the 18 Puranas is just this. Astadasha Puraneshu Vyasasya Vashanam Doyam Paropakara Punyaya Papaya Paropidanam, which means the essence of the 18 Purana, as said by Vyasa, is that Paropakara, doing good to others is punya. Anything bad that you do to other is a papa. So that is action, good action. What is good action? What is evil action? Okay. And he said, who needs to grieve for whom? The dead or the living? Remember, Krishna says, Gatasun, Agatasun, Nanu Soshanti Panditaha. One who is a knowledgeable person will not grieve for one who have gone or who have yet to go. There is a story about a saint in Tamil called Pattinatar. Some of you might be able to remember. If you do a search on Pattinatar, Pattinatar once was moving around when he renounced himself from the world. He went to a place he went to a funeral where everybody was crying. Everybody was crying for the dead. And then Pattinatar also started to cry. And then people there were asking Pattinatar, why are you crying? Are you related to the person who have died? Pattinatar answered, I'm not crying for the person who have died, because every living being have to go at one time. But why I'm crying is that I'm crying for all of you who will also be like that, who will also be dying at one place, and will also be dying just like the person who have died. So why grieve? He says here, who should be grieving for whom? Okay, when here Hanuman says physical life is like a bubble here. Therefore, oh lady, turn your mind away from this fruitless grief and protect Angada and to the funeral of the departed hero. Wali has discharged his duty in this world, and it's now your turn to discharge your duty, O queen. Everyone has their dharma to perform in this world, Shwa Dharma. Okay, you have your own Shwa Dharma, Ashrama Dharma, Varnashrama Dharma, and also at the macro context, you look into Rita Dharma. Okay, and everyone have a debt to pay in this world. Rishi Rina, Pitru Rina, Deva Rina, all have to be performed. Okay, let the funeral rite be performed for Vali. However, Tara was inconsolable. She replied, 100 Angada will not equal in my eyes to one Vali, my dearly beloved Lord. You may all go away. My place is here where my Lord have felt. That's what from what you call mentioned by Tara. So these are the some of the slokas that I have taken from the words of Hanuman to Tara. This is similar to what I have mentioned to you earlier. These are found in chapter 21, sloka number 2. Okay, chapter 21, sloka number 2, sloka number 3, and also sloka number 5. There are 3 slokas which gives the essence of what Hanuman have told what he call Tara. So Hanuman is what Hanuman is doing is that he's advising Tara to look at the bigger context, at the macro context. Always you have to see the Dharma from not a micro context, but also from a macro context. Many parts, if you look into the Mahabharata, Krishna advises, Krishna, in fact, his action, he looks into the Dharma from a bigger picture rather than a smaller, what you call micro context. You have to see things from a bird's eye view, not from a worm's eye view. Okay, that is the Hanuman's advice to Tara. Okay, very, very important if you want to go and to look at the word by word, the translation and also the commentary. Some commentators will give commentaries. You can even go to valmikiramayana.net. So as I said to you, Valmiki Ramayana, you can read, you can also, it is also important to read some commentaries from various acharyas or even teachers. Some commentaries like Govinda Raja Bhushanam, then you have Tilaka commentators. There are many commentators who have commented on Valmiki Ramayana. And if you go through valmikiramayana.net, you will find that Desi Raja Hanumanta Rao have also inserted some of the commentary in some of the verses. So if you want to, I consider myself as a student of Valmiki Ramayana, but if any one of you wants to know more, you want to master Valmiki Ramayana, it is always suggested read not only the translation, and not only what they call the translation of Valmiki Ramayana, but also you need to learn, you need to read the commentaries, various commentaries on Valmiki Ramayana. Okay, when we look at chapter 22, after Tara lamenting loss of Vali, after hearing Hanuman's advice, Tara was still in grief. And at the time, Vali was not dead because he was still wearing the golden chain which was given to him by Indra, which protected his vital force. Okay, there is also people who say that as long as a Vali wears that, he will be able to acquire 50% of the enemy's strength. But this is not found in Valmiki Ramayana, as I have also mentioned to you in the previous session. So now Vali opened his eyes and looked at Sugriva and said, "Oh brother, please do not blame me for whatever that has happened. I think that we were not meant to be happy together." Okay. Hence, all this has to come. I shall quit this body and this world. I wish that you should be the king after me. Please listen to my request. So Vali give few requests to Sugriva. First and foremost, Vali wanted Sugriva to take care of his son Angada. Just like any father, Sugriva, Wali wanted Sugriva to take care of his son Angada. He said, he's equal in valor and might to me. He has had comfortable life. Let him not be subjected to unhappiness. Second, what Wali mentioned to Sugriva, do not disregard the counsel of Tara. She is never wrong. Wali just realized that. Before Wali went to fight with Sugriva, Tara advised Wali, don't go. I heard Sugriva had gone into alliance, made alliance with Rama. This was also confirmed by your son Angada. Please, my lord, do not go. Okay, please appoint Sugriva as your Raja. But Wali did not heed the advice of Tara. So that's why Wali realized now she is never wrong. Thirdly, okay, very importantly, Wali mentioned to Sugriva, get busy to accomplish the purpose of Rama. Not to do so would be a breach of trust and might well cost you your very life. Although Wali advised Sugriva, but after the coronation of Sugriva, Sugriva has forgotten when he was drunk and he was enjoying life, enjoying with his, he acquired his wife Roma, and then he was enjoying. And he forgot, even though anyone advised, he did not take it seriously until Lakshmana went and reminded. Then only he realized what he has done was wrong. So ingratitude, something about gratitude will be mentioned by Hanuman later stage. We will go into that part. So third message of Wali to Sugriva, get busy, O Sugriva, accomplish the purpose of Rama. Do not do so would be a breach of trust. Okay, in leadership also a very, very important component of leadership is that the trust. Okay, okay. Lastly, okay, Wali said, I shall give you this divine golden chain as my parting gift. Wear this, its luster and its protecting power might wane as soon as I die. Let me transfer it to you even before. Wali took off the chain and gave it to Sugriva. He knew his death now was very near. Now, after giving advice to Sugriva, Wali turned to his son, Angada. Wali turned to his son. Very important message given by Wali to his son, which we can also apply. Everybody can need to look at this. My child, consider well time and place before doing anything. Endure the pleasant and unpleasant, happiness and unhappiness. Just like what Krishna preached in the Bhagavad Gita, Brahma Buddha Prashantatma Na Soshati Na Kanshati Sama Sharveshu Bhutteshu Madbhaktim Labhyate Param. This you will find in chapter 18. Brahma Buddha means that one who is in a state of Brahma Buddha, whether happiness, sad, he will be in equanimity. Equanimity also I have mentioned some time ago. Sukha dukke samakritva labha labho jaya jaya. Sukha dukke, happiness, sadness. Okay, samakritva, equal. Same also victory, defeat, gain or loss. This is a lesson. This is a message that Wali is giving to what they call Angada. And then another thing that the Wali is telling Angada is that be obedient to Sugriva. Be obedient. Do not take undue advantage of Sugriva as you could of me. Be friendly with his friend and treat his enemies as yours. However, avoid excessive affection and hate towards all. Both these are evil. Treat the middle part. Be at the equanimity, equilibrium. Don't have too much attachment, too much hatred toward anybody. Okay, then Wali's soul left his body, and all the Vanaras lamented aloud, and they recounted his mighty exploit. They even recounted the exploit Wali had with the demon Golova. 15 years he fought with the demon. These are described. These are described in this chapter. And after that, after Wali left his body, Tara collapsed near the body of Wali. So I just want to highlight again the message of Wali to his son Angada. This is a sloka. This sloka you can find in Kishkinda Kanda, chapter 22, sloka number 23, whereby Wali said, neither should you, that is referring to Angada, should you show excessive love, nor should you stay cold to anyone. Don't love too much or hate too much to anybody. Both would be serious mistake, and hence you should seek to middle course. Please reflect. Raga, Dvesha. Krishna also mentions that Raga and Dvesha, attachments, too much attachment, too much likeness, too much hate, not good. This is what final advice given by Wali to his son Angada, which you can also reflect on this particular verse. Now Tara again wailed, "Oh great hero, your body is completely covered with blood and missile, which has pierced your heart, prevents me from embracing you, your body. Fate is in Sugriva's favor now, hence he is victorious. My own sorrow makes me feel that a girl should never marry her hero, for sooner or later she has to suffer the agony of separation from him. She may be wealthy, have many sons, yet she is a widow. I pleaded with you to desist from this fight. You did not like my plea. I could not prevent you from fighting. Now you're dead. We are all dead, as what was mentioned by Tara. And when Sugriva saw all this, he was terribly shaken. He approached Rama and said in a choked with a grief, "O Rama, indeed you have shown superhuman valor and might, and you have slain the powerful Vali. But now he is dead, my heart turns away from the kingdom. On the account of great anger and hate, I wanted the death of my brother. Now that he is dead, my heart is tormented with grief. He would never kill me, even when he could. But I have been the cause of his death. He was noble and virtuous. I am sinful. I do not deserve the esteem of the people. I do not deserve the throne. How can I, O Rama, after committed this terrible sin, which is unrighteous? Grant me leave, O Rama. Let me enter the fire. The other Vanaras will surely fulfill the mission and find Sita for you. This word caused great sorrow and concern for Rama. See, anger here, Wali said, on account of great anger and hate, I wanted the death of my brother. From Wali's word, even though later on in Sundarakanda, we will find Hanuman will give a verse. That particular verse is very important because when Hanuman was angry, he burned the whole Lanka. And then he realized, I might even burn Sita. Until he heard from the Charanas that Sita, although whole Lanka was burned, Sita was safe. But at that time, he was reflecting that, oh, what a man can do when he is angry. He could even kill people whom he loved when he is angry. So that means that anger. Remember the verse, famous verse, Krodat Bhavanti Shamohat, Shamohat Smriti Vibramha, Smriti Bramshat Buddhinasho, Buddhinashat Pranashati. So remember, anger can, if it's just a word left, if you put one word D, a D in front, that becomes a danger. Anger is a danger. Anger will bewilder your intelligence. Intelligence falls, you lose yourself, you fall down. So that what happened to Sugriva, and Sugriva is lamenting. Now he is in a state of depression, state of frustration, state of sorrow, and this actually caused great sorrow to even Rama. And at the same time, what happened? Tara beheld Rama and moved towards him. She said, "Oh Rama, your glory is immeasurable. You are the embodiment of Dharma." This is the second person who says Rama is the embodiment of Dharma. If you are able to recall, okay, in Aranyakanda, there was another person who said Rama is an embodiment of Dharma. You remember the first person who said Rama embodiment of Dharma in Valmiki Ramayana, you find is that Maricha. Maricha mentioned to Ravana, Ramo Vigravan Dharma. He is the embodiment of Dharma. Okay, here Tara is saying again, I have just one prayer to offer to you. Please grant it. In the same manner in which you killed my husband, kill me too, so that I may rejoin him. You know the pangs of separation from one's wife. Let my husband not suffer them. You will not sin by killing me, a woman, for I am but the other half of the husband. Such is the declaration of the Vedic texts. Vedic text, yes, the wife is the other half of the husband. This is mentioned in various uh, parts of the Vedic text. Okay, that the wife is identical with the husband. Dissuading her from the wish to die, Rama said to her, "O heroine, do not allow the mind to entertain such wrong thoughts. The universe has been created by the Lord, who has so ordained that the happiness and unhappiness should be inseparable from the Lord. Just like a cycle, it goes through a cycle: happiness, sadness, sukha, dukkha, sukhe, dukkhe, sukha, dukkha, all the sukham, dukkham, all it is like a cycle. This is a universal law. When one is in Sukha, you have to remember Dukkha will come a day. And when you are in Dukkha, you have to remember Sukha will come. So it is a cycle. Therefore, give up this grief which is unworthy of wives of heroes. This actually appease Tara. Now, Tara, later on, we're going to learn about Tara. These are some additional 2 slides that I have included. It's not in the slides that I have shared, but it will be in the PPT slide, which I will share with all of you once we have completed the entire Kishkindakandam. So the PPT version, I'm not able to share in a WhatsApp because sometimes the size is large. So when I convert into PDF, it will be smaller. The size gets smaller, so it is easier to upload in the WhatsApp. So the PPT, I will just give you the link once we have completed the one kanda after one kanda. Once we have completed every kanda, I will share with you the PPT slides. Okay. Now, who is this Tara? Tara is a daughter of Sushina. Sushina is another Vanara. And this Sushina should not be mistaken with Ravana's family doctor, Raja Vaidya. Ravana has a Raja Vaidya that is called Sushena. In Ramcharitmanas you have, and also in other sources of Ramayana you have a Sushena. Sushena, Hanuman will go and carry Sushena in order to save Lakshmana's life. And then Hanuman, Sushena says his dharma was for Ravana. But they will be narrating what is a dharma of a physician, what is a dharma of a doctor, what is a dharma of a Vaidya. Dharma of the Vaidya is to save the life. But that's not the Sushena here. This is a different Sushena. Sushena, who is a, what you call, a father of Tara. And another important thing you have to note is that Tara, there are many Tara. There is also a minister of Sugriva called Tara. So sorry, not Tara. It's mentioned Tara. Tara. This one, the wife, Tara should be Tara. The pronunciation should be Tara. The other one is Tara. Tara is another person who is a man, who is the what they call minister of Sugriva. Okay, and there is also another Tara who is the wife of Brihaspati. Wife of Brihaspati is also called Tara. So we have Tara, wife of Brihaspati. Tara, that is a wife of Wali, and Tara, who is the minister. So there are 3. You will later on, don't get confused. Later on, when we go into later part of Kishkindakanda, where I mentioned the name of Tara, who is a minister of Sugriva. So Tara is known for her intelligence, presence of mind, courage, and devotion for her husband. You can see earlier also I have gone through with you the slokas that expounds the intelligence, the stability of the mind of Tara, how Tara advises what he call Wali. And she's extolled as one of the Panchakanya, 5 women, whose remembrance will be able to destroy sins, it is mentioned. Ahalya, Draupadi, Kunti, Tara, Mandodari, Tata, Panchakanya, Shmare, Nidyam, Mahapataka, Nashahanam. The remembrance of them will destroy the sin, it is mentioned. Of course, in some versions, you also have Sita, but I have clarified some questions in the group earlier, that Sita also known as Panchashakti, together with what they call Sati, that is Parvati, Anusuya, the wife of Atri Muni, then Arundhati, then you also have Savitri. Okay, and Sita. Okay, right. Now, she was a queen of Kushinda and king of a wife of King Vali, and later she became wife of Sugriva. Now, in Valmiki Ramayana, there is nothing mentioned about a formal marriage between what we call Sugriva and Tara. But it is mentioned indirectly in several places in Valmiki Ramayana. When Sushina was mentioned in Kishkinda Kanda, at the end of Kishkinda Kanda, Sushina was mentioned as a father-in-law of King Sugriva. And there are several other parts in the Valmiki Ramayana. You will find that, yes, you can find from Valmiki Ramayana, Sugriva married what you call Tara. But if you find Kamba Ramayana, in Sri Rama Avadharam by Kamba Ramayana, by Kamban, which is also often called as Kamba Ramayanam, Tara does not remarry, and Sugriva treats her as a motherly figure and salutes her. Kamban, according to commentators, they say Kamban made the regional adaptation just like Ahalya's case. So if you remember Balakandam of Valmiki Ramayana in the Ahalya episode with Indra. So in Valmiki Ramayana, it is mentioned Ahalya knew that it was Indra who came. But in Kamba Ramayana, it was mentioned that Ahalya was innocent. Ahalya did not know that it was Indra who came in form of Sage Gautama. So Kamban made regional adaptation according to the norms, cultures of people at that time. That was what the commentator, when they look into the commentary, when they try to compare, let's say in one of the comparison between Kamba Ramayanam and Valmiki Ramayanam, it was mentioned. And it's also mentioned that Tara is an Amsha of Brihashpati. Brihashpati's Amsha came in form of Tara. Look at chapter 17, Balakandam. All the Devas whose Amsha became Vanaras. Brihashpati is the guru of Devas. Asura, you remember, right? You know, Asura's one is Sukracharya. In Rama Avataram and Ranganada Ramayanam, which is in Telugu, it says that Tara and Ruma rose along with other Apsaras from the ocean of milk during its churning by the gods and demons. You will not find it in Bhagavata Purana and other Puranas. You don't find that. But there are some versions of the narration of Samuntramandan, that is the churning of the ocean. It was mentioned that Vali was one who took part. He was holding the what he call Vasuki at one side, and Kartaviri Arjuna was holding on the other side. Okay, it was mentioned in, but you will not find it in Bhagavata Purana. It is not mentioned in Bhagavata Purana, but there are some versions they do mention Vali was there, Kartaviri Arjuna was also there during the churning of the ocean. Okay, in some regional Ramayana, one example is Oriya's Vilanka Ramayana by Sarala Das. Sarala is also very famous for his work that is called Sarala Mahabharata. I was fortunate to meet two scholars of Sarala Mahabharata, who is a scholar of Odiyas in Oriya, who have written commentaries on Sarala Mahabharata. Sarala Mahabharata is also very long. Saguni's story in Sarala Mahabharata is the story about Saguni's revenge and all are well detailed in Sarala Mahabharata. That is another great work. Anyone who are interested, you can do some search on Sarala Mahabharata. Sarala Mahabharata. Okay, and he has also written the Oriya version of Mahabharata that is called Ramayana, that is called Vilanka Ramayana. And in this version, he says, Tara blames Rama for unjustly killing Vali, and what will happen is that Tara will curse Rama so that he will soon lose Sita after he regains her. And she declares that Sita will return to earth. Okay, that actually provides some prelude earlier. to what happens later in Uttarakandam of Valmiki Ramayana, whereby Rama will be again separated from Sita. That part we will be taking it later when we go into when we go into what we call Uttrakandam of Srimad Valmiki Ramayana. So she said, this is a curse. And you remember that even Krishna was cursed. Krishna was cursed by Gandhari. 36 years from now, your Kula, that is called Yadu Kula, the Vrishni's clans, the Yadus, will be completely removed from this earth. That was also one of the curse by what we call Gandhari. Gandhari also cursed. Here, Tara cursed Rama. But this is not found in Valmiki Ramayana and other versions, but it is found in Vilanka Ramayana by Sarala Das. And in another version, that is Bengali versions, that is Kritivasa Ramayana by another Bengali poet, Kritivasa, he says that Tara curses Rama that in next birth he will be killed by Vali. And this is narrated in a Sanskrit Ramayana that is called Ananta Ramayana. Ananta Ramayana narrates that Vali was reborn as a hunter. It is not mentioned. I am putting it Jara. Jara, who kills Krishna. So when Krishna, after all the his clans leaves the world, at that time Krishna was sitting in a meditative posture. His feet looks like a deer to the hunter Jara, who released the arrow which killed Krishna. But of course, these are not supported in Valmiki and also commentators of Valmiki. These are some additional narration which came at a later stage, which was written by other scholars, other poets. Of course, some poets, they expand. They try to link one with another. Okay. Now, if you look into Adhyatma Ramayana, you have to remember Adhyatma Ramayana becomes a base of other Ramayana. In fact, Tulsidas Ramayana, Ramcharitmanas also follows Adhyatma Ramayana. And then another Ramayana in Malayalam, that is Tenchettu Yelutachans. Okay, Adhyatma Ramayana Kilipattu also follows from Adhyatma Ramayana, which is part of Brahmanda Purana. Anyone of have an interest, you can do some search on Adhyatma Ramayana, and you can even acquire. I have a text on Adhyatma Ramayana which I have read, and Adhyatma Ramayana presents the spiritual version of Rama Saga, just like Bhagavata for Krishna, Bhagavata Purana for Krishna. In Adhyatma Ramayana, Tara wails over the death of Vali, and Rama preaches to her, saying that the body is temporary, not permanent, and the soul is eternal. He tells her not to grieve over the body, just like what Krishna mentions in the Bhagavad Gita. Body is temporary. Body consists of 5 material elements, is temporary. The Atma, which is within the body, it is eternal. Remember the various sloka Bhagavad Gita provides, especially Bhagavad Gita, look at chapter 2, slokas 11 to 30. He who dwells in the body is not slain when the body is slain. Bhagavad Gita clearly mentioned. There is a sloka where he who dwells in the body is not slain when the body is slain. Therefore, you should not grieve to any living being. O son of Kunti, O son of Bharata, he says, Krishna says, Dehi nityo ahavatyo yam, dehi sharvasya Bharata, tashmat sharvani bhutani, nathum soshitam arhashi. You should not grieve. So Tara questioned him, asking, if the body is destructible, why does one feel the pleasure and pain? And Rama informs her it is due to ahamkara. Ahamkara is a one of the subtle body. That is ego, mind, and intellect. Ahamkara. Physical body is consists of earth, water, fire, air, and ether. Subtle body consists of mind, intelligence, and ego. These 8 elements covers the Atma. So Rama informs us it is due to ahamkara. The mind is chained in bondage of desires. Bondage. Bandha. Bandha can be many. So Banda, in Tamil you have Sondam Bandam. Sondam, something is your whatever that you possess, Bandam, you have. Bondage. He declares that Tara will remain untouched by karma and be emancipated from the bondage of life. Having heard his sermon, and because she has been devoted to him in previous birth, Tara becomes free from egoism and undergoes self-realization. Only because of past life one have that opportunity to be associated with Rama. He says previous births. Anybody who get association with Rama, even the enemies of Rama, Ravana, you have to remember the past birth, what they were. Remember the two gatekeepers of Vaigunda was cursed, Jaya, Vijaya. They came as Hiranyakasipu, Hiranyaksa, Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and then later they came back again, Jaya and Vijaya. Okay, as it is taking time, okay, another we have about another 30 to 35 minutes, so I'm going to go through the remaining part. Okay, Rama addressed all of them. A show of grief does not promote but does impede the progress of departed soul to his freedom. You do not have to grieve. You should have it shed enough tears. Now let the funeral rites to be undertaken. Niyati, time, kala. The inner controller of things, or law of cosmic motion, is a sole cause of everything in this world. And this mysterious force alone is the instrument of action too. It is this law of cosmic motion that prompts all activities. So Rama here says, no one does anything in this world. No one prompts anyone to do anything either. All beings manifest their nature, and the nature is rooted in eternal law of time, which alone is the inner prompter. Time does not transcend itself. Strictly adhering to its nature, it does not transgress its bonds. Time, or the law of motion, has no friend or relation. It is prompted by motives, nor does it seek to overpower anybody. It has no relationship at all. It is not subject to anyone's will. Yet the intelligent and wise man can easily discern the changes brought about by time. One can see that dharma, the worldly prosperity, dharma, then artha, kama, are all attained by one in course of time. So this is an advice. This is what Rama says. And Rama further says, Vali has fulfilled his duty and has reached highest abode. It is good that it is good that all of you should give up your grief and organize his funeral. Lakshmana took charge of the funeral operation. Under his direction, various Vanaras got all the necessary articles together. In fact, you can go through that particular chapter about what they did and all that thing, including a palanquin to carry Vali's body. Sugriva and Angada lifted Vali's body, placed on the palanquin. Body was then carried to the crematorium. Vali Vanaras proceeded to the crematorium preceded the palanquin. Tara and all the Vanara women wailed aloud. So Vali was cremated. After cremation, all Vanaras bathed in the river, offer libation to the departed soul, and return to their homes. Sugriva approached Rama. Now, before we go into that, remember the Rama's words of wisdom. Look at chapter 25, Kishkindakandam, Sloka 4, Sloka 5, Sloka 6, and Sloka 7. So Bhagavad Gita also mentions something about this. So in Bhagavad Gita, you can make a reference to chapter 5 of the Bhagavad Gita. Look at chapter 5, Sloka 14 and Sloka 15. Everybody is controlled by the modes of material nature. The independence, living beings have the independence, but limited to some extent. But of course, Krishna says again in chapter 7, there is a sloka where he says that Daivi Esha Gunamahi Mamamaya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapatyante Mayam Yetam Tarantiti. It's difficult to cross. torrented, very difficult. You cannot cross unless one who have surrendered. Those who have surrendered will cross. Saranagati is another part. Later on we'll go. Saranagati is one of the message of the Ramayana. Some commentator, especially commentator from Sri Vaishnavism, those followers of Vishishtadvaita, looks at Ramayana, entire Ramayana as a Saranagati Sastra, where it teaches us to surrender to Almighty, surrenders to Rama. Ultimate surrender, of course, Vibhishana, the famous sloka. Sakrut heva prapannaya thavashmiti chayachate abhayam sharvabhutebhyo dadam yetat vritam mama, where Rama declares, my vow to give protection to one who have surrendered. So, going into chapter 26, Hanuman said to Rama, by your grace, O Rama, Sugriva has gained this kingdom of Kishkinda. When you permit him, he will be crowned king. Rama, you will love Kishkinda territory. But Rama quickly replied to Hanuman, I shall not enter Kishkinda, O Hanuman. My father's command implies that I should not enter a village or a town. Let Sugriva be crowned immediately. And to Sugriva, Rama said, as soon as you are crowned, install Angada on the throne too, as the crown prince. I see that the rainy season has just commenced and it will last for 4 months. It's not suitable for the work that lies before us. So hence you should spend 4 months in Kishkinda before devoting the period to affairs of 4 months in Kishkinda, devoting the period to the affairs of states, taking care of the kingdom of Kishkinda. I shall spend the period in the cave. But soon after the rainy season, please take quick step to destroy Ravana and bring back Sita to me. Then what happens? Sugriva entered Kishkinda and the Vanaras crowned him as the king. Lakshmana went to Kishkinda and then helped in the coronation of Sugriva. And Sugriva has the words following the words of Rama, installed Angada as a crown prince. And Sugriva saw the presence of Rama again, conveyed to him the news of the coronation, having regained his wife Ruma. So Sugriva Pattabhisheka over. Rama and Lakshmana took their abode and Mount Prasravana. They selected a cave and they stayed inside the cave. But of course, Rama was not happy there without Sita. Again, Rama expressing his grief. And again, Lakshmana, one by one will console each other. You remember at that time when Lakshmana was in grief, Lakshmana was sad, Lakshmana was depressed, Rama will advise Lakshmana, will counsel Lakshmana. And then when Rama was in grief, Lakshmana counseled Rama. Okay, Lakshmana tried to console him. I'm merely reviving your own power and wisdom, okay, but not teaching you. Rama replied, I have thrown off this grief, which is an obstacle to all undertaking. Grief is an obstacle to all undertaking. Very important. Whatever undertaking, do not feel grief. Many lessons, words from Ramayana teaches you to be determined. No, earlier parts we look into determination. I have given you the example of a sparrow who lost its eggs. Wanted to get the eggs back from the ocean. Ocean did not respond, but the sparrow was determined. The determination of sparrow, Garuda himself came to help the sparrow. And then the ocean had no choice but to return the egg to the sparrow. So, next chapter, the rainy season has set in. Rama described beauty and of the season. These are all description about the season, rainy season. Again, Rama will be describing about all that things that he will be looking at during this season. And he was also thinking in Kishkinda, Sugriva is enjoying life, having recovered his wife and kingdom. And he described to Lakshmana, my grief is boundless. I hope Sugriva, after resting for some time, offer me help on his own accord. That's indeed is a characteristic of a true friend. I hope he does not prove to be ungrateful. Because difficulties involved in undertaking expectation during rainy season, I did not press him to undertake. I did not press him to undertake the task immediately. I am eagerly waiting for Sugriva. And Lakshmana reassured Rama that Sugriva will indeed fulfill his flesh and console Rama. Now the rainy season has departed. Skies were clear. But Hanuman is somebody who is proactive. Remember, proactive is one of the traits that you need to integrate, that you need to build within you. You need to have this trait. Stephen Covey, in his book of Habits of Several Highly Effective People, first trait he mentioned is proactive, being proactive. Ability to foresee a problem, forecast. A better word is that foresee. It is said by Einstein that a clever person solves a problem. A wise person will prevent a problem. According to Einstein, I repeat, according to Einstein, he said, clever person solves a problem, but a wise person, someone who is proactive, will be able to prevent the problem from happening. So here, rainy season is over. But Hanuman saw that Sugriva was engrossed in enjoyment and pleasures of the senses and forgotten his duty. Okay. Indeed, he even neglected the affairs of the state. He is not even governing the state of Kishkinda. And he delegated to his minister. And he isolated himself from the people and entirely given himself in self-indulgence. He put his room, his apartment room, okay, no disturbance. He put the blocks there. So, but Hanuman saw the danger of adharma, unrighteousness, of neglecting the duty. Hanuman knew the art of persuasion and use of word. Remember, Rama himself praised him. He is a Navavyakarana Pandita. We know how to use the word correctly. So what Hanuman did, humbly and gently he approached Sugriva. And by singing his praises, please him. See, before you want to say something, see, learn from Hanuman here. You want to say something which is not good to the leader. You want to say something not good to the king. You are giving advice to the king. But before you are doing it, you praise the king first. So what Hanuman did, he was singing his praises. Go to that particular chapter. Look at how Hanuman communicated. He sang the praise of Sugriva. And that brought delight to the mind of Sugriva. Then in following words, he brought home to the king what was beneficial, truthful, appropriate, in words wisely portraying a mixture of displeasure and pleasure. So immediately Hanuman did not start with the things that are not very good. He started with things are good. So that is a saying that always give carrot before stick. Start with a carrot. So Hanuman said, O king, you have regained your kingdom and your wife. Your work has thus been accomplished. Now the work of your friend remains. In this world, O king, he who renders timely help to his friends prospers. His fame grows, his power grows too. Hence, one should abandon everything and serve one's friends, else one invites disaster. Again, such service must be timely. Spectacular service rendered to a friend after the time of such service has passed defeats its purpose. Therefore, please let Rama's work to be undertaken and ways and means adopted to discover and recover Sita. Rama does not remind you of his mission, though surely he is anxious to have it accomplished soon, because he is in your hands now. It is in your hands now. Sorry, it is in your hands now. Moreover, we should not forget that the Rama is powerful and capable enough to destroy even the gods, let alone the demons. So it is said in sloka number 4, Balakandam chapter 1. Jata roshasya samyuge, that is a sloka. Atmavan ko jita krodo, dutiman ko anusuyakas, kashya bipyati devasya, jata roshasya samyuge. Even he is able, his anger will be taken note by even the devas, by the gods. Service to Rama is good in itself. Even if he had not done anything for you, it would have been praiseworthy to serve him. How much more so when he has rendered inestimable service to you. Hence, please command the Vanaras to search for Sita. please command the Vanaras to search for Sita. Sugriva commanded his advice, and he commanded the Vanaras, all the Vanaras, to quickly come to Kishkinda. Anyone who does not turn up within 50 days will now lose his life. That was what Sugriva said, and then he went back to his apartment. So if you look at the note, mental state of Sugriva mentioned by Valmiki, Sugriva was spotting with women like Indra spot with Apsaras in Nandana garden. Nandana is a garden in Indraloka, in Amaravati. Amaravati is a place where Indra stays. He was strolling in the garden night and day without caring for the kingdom and trusting it to the ministers whose movement he did not even bother to watch. So, and then the words from Hanuman. Hanuman decided to counsel what he call Sugriva. So these are the slokas I have taken. Sloka number 17 to 20 of what was mentioned by Hanuman to Sugriva. And then in chapter 30, dwelling in the cave along with Lakshmana, Rama was counting days of rainy season. For Rama, every day seems to be like a year. Each day seems to be as long as a year, because when you are separated, when you are in grief, and it seems to be very long. But for Sugriva, every day is like a second for him, like a minute for him. Time is relative. Time is always relative. He noticed at last the rainy season came to an end, and Sugriva might have should have been sending Vanaras to look for Sita. So when he was thinking in that way, that time Lakshmana came. He knew what was bothering his brother. Lakshmana said to Rama, "Oh, noble one, why do you yield to passion, thus denying your own vigor? Grief robs you of the equanimity of mind. Can you not drive this grief away by means of yoga?" Here it is mentioned that, "Please regain composure and peace of mind. Thus regain your inner strength by means of practice of yoga." Okay, it is mentioned. Do not worry about Sita. She cannot be kept away from you by anyone in three worlds. No doubt we should do the necessary. Even this ought to be done without becoming anxious about the outcome. So Lakshmana giving his words to Rama. Rama said here, "Oh Lakshmana, the rainy season come to an end. But the Sugriva I don't see any sign of Sugriva yet. Sugriva has not shown grace towards me. He seems to be neglecting me, feeling that I am a destitute exile from the kingdom and completely dependent upon him. He himself volunteered to begin search for Sita. Now he has completely forgotten. I think it's better you go and tell him that ungrateful man who receives favors from his friends, promising to reciprocate, and thus fails to honor the promise, is the most wicked. He is a hero indeed who fulfills his promise, whether it looks good or not good. Or do you wish to provoke me to use my missiles once more, as I did in order to kill Vali?" Now, that his own purpose has been accomplished, Sugriva forgets his own promise. Okay? He has obviously given up to enjoyment and sensual pleasures. Surely he does not realize what would happen if my anger arose and directed against him. Better go and tell him, the road that Vali took on his way out of this world is not closed. Say whatever you think is necessary to undertake the search for Sita immediately. Lakshmana saw that Rama was angry, and he also became very angry. So one of the thing that the important thing to note importance of keeping up with promise. Look at the sloka 71 and 72 of this chapter. And here, Rama's anger and grief rose Lakshmana's fury. He said, "It is wicked of Sugriva to ignore his promise. Such wicked people should not be entrusted with the kingdom. I shall send him this very day to the abode of death, where he shall behold his brother Vali. We can then ask Angada to search out, send the Vanaras out to search for Sita. Then Rama pacified Lakshmana with the words, noble man like you, do not contemplate such sinful action, O Lakshmana. The man who destroys anger is a hero, not the man, no. You conquer yourself, you conquer your anger. Guru Nanak says what? Ap Jita, Jagat Jita, you conquer yourself, you conquer the world. The best among men, please deal with Sugriva as a friend should be dealt with. Lovingly point out to him the urgency of the matter and the righteousness of the cause. Lakshmana, who always did as he was told to do so, therefore considered what need to be said to Sugriva. So Lakshmana left for Sugriva, left for Kishkinda. As he approached Kishkinda, Vanaras were roaming around the forest of Kishkinda were frightened. They sensed his anger and knew the danger of encountering him. So they tried to gain entry to Sugriva. But again, Sugriva was heavily drunk, not able to pay attention to anything. The minister of Sugriva could not decide upon proper course of action, therefore ordered all the Vanaras to defend Kishkinda against Lakshmana. Angada then went forward to meet Lakshmana and ascertain the cause of his fury. Still furious, Lakshmana commanded Angada to announce to him to Sugriva at once. Angada sized up the situation and returned to the palace, caught hold of the feet of both his uncle and his wife Ruma. Sugriva was there and they were all frightened. Frightened Vanaras were outside the palace. This made Sugriva return to sobriety. He was drunk. He was still in a state of not really, he's still drunk, you can say, but it is said he was returned to the sobriety. Some of his ministers then submitted, Rama and Lakshmana, who are devoted to truth, who wear human appearance, are fit to be rulers. Though they have given you your kingdom, Lakshmana is at the door. Lakshmana stands at the door and frightened Vanaras yell, do as Rama did to you in good time, O king. Fulfill your promise. So Sugriva said, I have not insulted Rama or Lakshmana. I have not done anything to offend them. Why is that Lakshmana angry with me? Hanuman very politely submitted to Sugriva. The reason is obvious, O king. You had promised to organize search for Sita, and as soon as the rainy season come to an end. The rainy season is at an end, but the search have yet to be started. You are aware of the passage of time. Lakshmana surely come to remind you of this. It is best for you to offer your apologies and immediately implement your promise. Angada requested Lakshmana to enter the palace. Lakshmana did not enter Sugriva's inner apartment. Still foaming with rage, he stood alone outside. Sugriva heard the rattle of Lakshmana's weapon, then knew that he was there as Angada said. He said to Tara, please go and find out the cause of Lakshmana's wrath. Surely he would not behave unbecomingly with you, then come and tell me the truth. So Sugriva instructed Tara to go. Tara is somebody who's able, later on Tara will be able to cool down Lakshmana from Lakshmana's anger. So the advice of Hanuman I have taken here, I have highlighted here, which is again second advice of Hanuman to Sugriva. That is in chapter 32 of Kishkinda Kanda, sloka number 7. It's easy to earn friend, but keeping friendship sustained is difficult. Due to fickleness of mind, friendships get broken even on flimsy grounds. And in sloka number 15, the same chapter, Oh, chief of monkeys, it is time for military expectations. Since you are intoxicated, you are not aware of this. Lakshmana has come here evidently for this. And again he says, the role of counselors and ministers. The counselors and ministers appointed by the king should certainly give good advice without fear. Just like you learn in Aranyakanda, Maricha also mentioned that to Ravana, you should not be surrounded by yes men. Yes, boss. You find ministers, every ministers will be, they will always have fear. Whatever the king says, yes, sir. Yes, boss. Yes, your highness. So here he says, Hanuman says, same as what Maricha have also advised Ravana. This I tell you, since I have faith in my words, since you have faith in my words, he who deserves served should not be offended, more so by a grateful man, remembering the help received by him earlier. Then Tara approached Lakshmana and asked, kindly tell me the reason you are angry with us. Lakshmana was pleased with Tara's approach and said, Sugriva is immersed in enjoyment of sensual pleasure and lost sight of his promise to us. He is drunk and is never sober. Such drinking is contrary to dharma and attainments to one's welfare. Drinking is obstacle to dharma, to material welfare, to enjoyment of the dharmic pleasures. Ingratitude is inimical to dharma, and the loss of friend is inimical to material welfare. Sugriva is inviting these two by his neglect in his obligations to Rama. Tara quickly informed Lakshmana. In fact, oh Lakshmana, Sugriva has already taken steps to fulfill his promise to Rama. Vanaras has already begun to arrive. Yet I know that he has been negligent. I know the reason for this. You do not know the power of lust, though you know how powerful anger is. A man subject to lust is unaware of time and place, of dharma or of material welfare. Even sages succumb to lust. How do you expect a Vanara who is uncultured to overcome it? Please come and meet Sugriva. Now Ram or Lakshmana entered. He saw Sugriva seated on a couch with his wife Ruma in his arms. This enraged him further. Shocked to see Rama in blazing anger, Sugriva regained his sobriety. He was half drunk. Still, he was able to, what do you call, recover a little bit. He humbly approached Lakshmana with joined palms. Lakshmana, still burning with anger, he said, a righteous king is honored by all. Unrighteous king who makes false promise is shunned by all. It is said, one who promises to give a horse and does not fulfill that promise suffers the sin of killing 100 horses. It is mentioned there by Lakshmana. Go to that particular verse in chapter 34. Disregarding one's own promise is a suicide, O Sugriva. One who promises to help a friend in return for the help received and goes back to his promise is sinful and fit to be executed. And there is no atonement prescribed for ingratitude. Though the Holy One prescribed an atonement for killing a cow, for drinking liquor, for transgressing a vow, they have none for ingratitude. Ingratitude is unpardonable sin. You are ungrateful, who have forgotten his promise, and who is engaged on contrary in the indulgence of senses, shame, whereas you should be busy in the services of Rama. You are lost in self-indulgence. Do you wish to go the way Wali went? You have not tasted the power of Rama's missiles. That is why you are behaving like this. These are words from Lakshmana. Now Tara again came. Remember here, role of Tara. Tara plays the role Tara. What Tara says cools down Lakshmana. Lakshmana is an angry. Here we learn from Tara the strategy used by Tara. Go to the sloka on the words of Tara in chapter 35. It is chapter 35. And you will learn how to console somebody who is angry. Somebody angry comes and you also become angry, what is going to happen? Two-person angry, you will end up in a lose-lose situation. So Tara knows what to do, what to say. Tara came to answer on behalf of Sugriva. She said, "Oh Lakshmana, kindly do not speak thus to Sugriva. He does not deserve those harsh words uttered by you. Sugriva has not forgotten the debt he owes to the gallant Rama. It is true that having been deprived of sensual pleasure for such a long time, he has fallen into this trap. We were told that sage Vishwamitra spent 10 years with Apsara, Gritachi, Menaka, as they have been a single day. Sensual pleasure has power to dull one's perception. Surely lust is very powerful. But you should not blame Sugriva without first ascertaining the truth, and you should not get so angry. Noble men like you should not let anger rise in them without comprehending the fact. I am quite certain that Sugriva will renounce his kingdom, his wife Roma, me, even Angada in order to do what pleases Rama. He will surely kill Ravana and restore Sita to Rama. All demons have to be killed before Ravana can be killed. Sugriva and Sita rescued. All this cannot be done without proper help and suitable organization. And Sugriva has already ordered all the Vanaras to report to him soon. Please therefore give up your anger. So this is a lesson for everyone. When someone is angry coming to you, read this particular chapter. How Tara used the words, power of words to console, to reduce the anger. When you start to get angry, when someone in a state of anger comes to you and you become angry, the results, you can't imagine the result, it will be disaster. So Ramayana here teaches you. Many lessons are taught in Ramayana. So Lakshmana was angry. Even more angry when he saw Sugriva in the arms of Ruma. He was very angry. Now, what Tara has said that actually consoled Lakshmana, that actually pacified Lakshmana. Hearing the humble and polite submission of Tara, Lakshmana felt pacified and gratified. He noted, Sugriva said to Lakshmana, whatever I have today, oh Lakshmana, I owe it to the grace of Rama. I cannot repay the debt I owe to him. Nor does he stand in need of my humble services. By his own prowess, own power, he can kill Ravana and regain Sita. I consider it his blessing that he allowed me to assist him in this endeavor. I have not forgotten that just with one missile, he pierced the 7 giant trees, Sala tree, the yonder mountain and the earth too. I pray if I have done anything wrong in dealing with both of you, out of my neglect, I may be forgiven. Pleased with Sugriva's demeanor and words, Lakshmana said, in you, O Sugriva, I have. In you, O Sugriva, my brother, have an excellent friend and helper. You have a pure heart. You are surely fit to be the ruler of the Vanaras. With your help, Rama will destroy Ravana and regain Sita. For you appear to Rama himself in energy and strength. Please pray, forgive the harsh word that I have uttered few moments ago on account of my sorrow and impatience. See, even in a state of anger, of course, Sugriva also wrong. Sugriva wrong because he lost his focus. Hanuman advised him, and again Hanuman advised him the second time. But look at how Tara go on to pacify Lakshmana, and Lakshmana became pacified. Now the last chapter for this session, Sugriva now turned to Hanuman and ordered, quickly get the Vanaras from the following mountains ranges: Mahendra mountain, Himalaya, Vindhya mountain, Kailasha, Mandara mountain, all the mountains, all the Vanaras. number of vanaras will be mentioned later on. How many mandaras? Millions of vanaras is mentioned. If I am going to look into exact number of vanaras, number of vanaras, even the vanaras, the names of the vanaras will be mentioned further. Kishkinda Kanda gives a lot of names of the vanaras. Get the vanaras who are black in color, who have strength, who have the strength of elephants, who can run like a wind, who can, if they disobey my orders, delay in coming here, they will lose their life. Let's swift messengers to be dispatched at once. This was immediately to be carried out. And then all the vanaras who have been commanded by Sugriva thus came to Kishkinda quickly. Vast horde of vanaras moved towards Kishkinda. They arrived in Kishkinda bringing various presents to King Sugriva. Pleased with them, Sugriva accepted the offerings. So this is chapter 37. Chapter 37 is the last chapter for this session. So the next session we're going to look into from chapter 38 onwards. We have another 2 more session to complete Kishkinda Kandam. Kishkinda Kandam will be completed in another 2 more session. That is next week and week after that. Okay, that will next week will be session 18, and then after that session 19. Session 20 will be session 18, 19. Session 20 will be going to Sundarakandam. So that's the end of session 17. Sri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame Sahasranama Tatulyam Ramanama Varanane. So if you have questions, you can write in a chat session. There are some questions. Maybe once I get the questions from the last session and also today this session, maybe before the next session, I will try to answer, or I will compile the question after the following, and then I'll give you the answer. All right. Thank you to everybody, and Jai Sri Ram.
Thank